Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be swatching the new LA Girl Break Free palettes and also comparing these to other LA Girl palettes in this series and a few others in my collection as well. So if you haven't been following me for a while, this is one of my favorite formulas at the drugstore. These are incredible. They're like high-end quality for around $15–16, and you can also use coupons on these and get them even less than that. And the quality is so good, as you're going to see when I do these swatches. Just wait, these are absolutely incredible. So let's go ahead and take a look at each one and do some swatches. All right, so this is the first palette. As you can see, this packaging is really beautiful. It has the butterflies and they move, like if you tip the palette this way, they change, which is really kind of neat. And on the back, it has all the shades listed out. It's 16 colors altogether, and these are made in China. And the packaging is just kind of like the hard case plastic packaging versus a cardboard palette. And then when you open it up, here's a look at these beautiful shades. And as I mentioned in my Sunday haul video on my main channel, there's a few shades in here that I think look really, really similar in the pan. You have these two that look very close. Even this one, it's a little bit lighter, but again, same kind of vibe going on. And then you also have these two that look really similar in the pan as well. So we're gonna go ahead and swatch this one, and we'll see how close these actually look once they're swatched out. All right, so first up we have the shade Winging It. Breathtaking, Explore, Mile High, Dusk, and Wildflower, Flaunt, Whimsical, Graceful, and Butterfly, Fairy Dust, and Soul. So these are the two that I thought looked almost identical in the pan, but they actually look a little different once they're swatched out, which I'm really happy about. They're close, but not identical. Next we have Sky and Flutter, Simplicity, and Delicate. Alright guys, so that's the whole palette, and honestly I thought there were going to be more repeat shades, but they really aren't all that similar. These are the other two, the mattes, that I thought were going to look the same, and they may still look a little more similar once they're blended out on the eyes, but just full strength here, they definitely do look a little bit different. Same thing with these shimmer shades as well. So I just think this is an absolutely stunning palette. I love the color story, and these shimmers are just so rich and so buttery, and the mattes swatched really well too. So I'm really excited to use it. Alright, so next up I just wanted to do some comparisons with this palette, and I have the old LA Girl palettes here, so I'm just going to quickly go through one by one because I got a lot of requests for this. So this is the Hot Hot Heat palette, and I do see a couple of similar shades in here. I don't think that these are exact by any means. This one has some like orangey tones and also like, you know, some warm tone neutrals. This one is more solidly like a purple palette, while this one has, you know, it has this shade that looks kind of similar, not exact to any in here. This purple actually looks really close, and then this matte shade also looks kind of close to one of these two down here. But I mean, other than that, I don't really see a whole lot of similarities between these two. Next up we have the Fierce and Wild palette, and this one also is very neutral for the most part. It just really has these three purple shades here, and I see a pink that looks similar to this pink. I also see like a matte purple that maybe is kind of similar to this one, and then also this purple shimmer, which again looks very similar to that. But then you have the greens and the neutrals, which are not in here, so this one really might only have a couple of similar shades. And then we have this Hot Hot Heat palette as well. This one had a couple of these purple tones in here. You have two purple shimmers right here, which look kind of like this one, but they don't look exact, at least in the pan. And then you have this light pink shimmer as well, which kind of looks similar to this, but I think this one's a little more lavender. This one's a little more pink. You also have this really deep charcoal gray in both of these palettes, which it's not quite a black, it's almost black. And then you also have this blue right here, which looks very similar to this one. Again, I don't think they're the same, but they're close. And then last but not least, we have the Pro Mastery palette. And this one, I mean, I know I got a lot of requests saying that this one looked similar, but when you actually put them side by side, I don't really think they are that much. I think this shade looks like this one a little bit. I don't know, just looking at it, really, I mean, this one's kind of more peachy than pink. This one is more reddish than like this one or this one. Yeah, I mean, maybe these two look kind of similar too, but really, I think these have very different vibes. And then I also have two purple palettes in my collection that I thought this looked very similar to. The first one is It's My Pleasure from ColourPop. I see a lot of really close shades in here between the two, like this one right here. I think these look a lot alike. I think these two look a lot alike as well. This matte pink looks similar to like either this one, maybe this one actually, this brighter one. And then this kind of purpley gray looks a lot like this one as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at some swatches and see if these are really that close. Alright guys, so here are the swatches. I actually don't see any shadows that look exactly the same. I think this is a case of two palettes having a similar vibe, but being completely different in the end. So it's just, you know, it depends on how different you really want to get. If you have the ColourPop one, I think, you know, you can get very similar looks out of it. But the LA Girl, I do think, again, the shimmers like really pop compared to the ColourPop ones. And ColourPop has an awesome formula, but for me, the LA Girl, there's just like no comparison when it comes to affordable brands. So I don't know, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this comparison. Another palette I thought this looked a lot like is the Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions palette. I think this looks kind of like a mini version of the LA Girl one, so I'm really curious to see what the swatches look like next to each other, because just looking at these in the pan, they look so similar. Alright guys, so here's the two palettes together. I think this one, while it is closer than the ColourPop as far as like dupe shades go, because I do see a few like this one, this pink right here, this pink is really close, but again, it's not exact. I think the LA Girl shimmers are just way more vibrant and way more foiled than the Huda Beauty ones. So if any of you guys have this Huda palette, I would love to know if you still think getting the LA Girl is worth it or if you're going to be skipping it. Alright guys, and then the second one is called Be You, and this one has more of like a toasty fall, warm tone neutral kind of vibe, and I like this one as well just because I really like neutral shades, and these are the types of colors that I like to wear all the time, especially heading into the fall season. So let's go ahead and swatch this first, and then we'll get into some comparisons. Alright guys, so first up we have the shade Life, and that's spelled with a Y, not an I. And this one is Sunset. This one is Strong, and this one is Queen. Next we have Escape, and Glowin', Wonder, and then we have Beauty, and New Beginnings. Then we have Wingman, and Free, Monarch, and Hope, Radiant, and Dreamin'. Alright, so just a couple things about this palette as well. I think these two shades right here look very close, and I think once they're sheared out on the eye, they're going to look almost identical. And then when it comes to this one and this one, you have one matte and one shimmer, so even though they look really similar in a swatch, they have different finishes to them. These two also look really close to each other. Again, not exact, but I don't know what they would look like blended out a little more. And then you also have these two ivory matte shades in the palette as well. One is just a little lighter than the other. So usually you don't see two matte ivory shades, but then again, I think for different skin tones, this might work out really well. If you have a slightly deeper skin tone, you might be able to use this more as their matte ivory when this one would be too light, and vice versa. So anyway, I think this one is really beautiful, so let's take a look at some comparison palettes. Alright, so first up, when it comes to the other LA Girl palettes, I think we're going to find a lot of similarities just because these are neutral shades, and almost all of these older ones contain different neutrals. So, I mean, you know, looking at these, I think maybe you have some similar shades like with these two right here. These two look really close to each other. Also, like these, I think this one maybe is a little more cool tone than this one. This one's really warm. But, you know, other than that, maybe like these oranges, this one's a little deeper though, I think, just from looking at it. And maybe these two are kind of close, but I'm not seeing really a ton of similarity between these two. Next up we have the Fierce and Wild palette, and this one also has some of these warm tones in it. So you have the golds again, you also have this deep kind of matte orangey shade, which I don't know if I really see an exact one because this one's a little bit lighter than that one. It's kind of like in between these two, I would say. And these down here are definitely more cool tone browns, so I wouldn't say those were dupes. You also have these yellows, I think. That's really the only other one that jumps out at me a lot. And then these up here are more cool tone browns as well. And then when it comes to Pro Mastery, I think these browns that are in here are a lot more, they're kind of like pinky browns, whereas these are way more warm toned. So, I mean, I really don't see like a lot of similarity at all between these two. And then the only other one that has warm tones in it, because the others had more cool tones, is this one. So in this one, I actually do see a lot of similar shades between them. I see these matte oranges look really, really similar to each other. I also see these matte browns look a lot alike. These two look like they might be close as well. So I guess maybe not a ton, but there are a couple. The rest of this is really cool tone though. But one thing that I kept seeing over and over again when I showed these on Instagram was a lot of people saying that this looked exactly like Naked Honey to them. And I really didn't see it at all, just because to me this looks more like Naked Heat, minus these yellows. I think it's really like, I think closer to that. These yellows look similar to this palette, but other than that, I really don't know if there's any dupe shades, but I can go ahead and swatch the two side by side and we'll take a quick look. All right, so here they are swatched out, and actually I stand corrected. I think there is quite a bit of similarity between these two palettes, especially when it comes to this end right here, because you have like the golds, you have these light browns I think really line up nicely. I do think this one's maybe a little more yellowy and this one's a little bit warmer, but then, you know, they kind of differ after that. These yellows are similar, except this one's a little bit more green, but they do look, you know, a lot alike once they're swatched out. And then these on this end of the palette down here, I think, you know, you have the matte ivories, but overall this one still definitely has, I think, that more warm tone vibe, and this one is, it's warm, but it's more yellowy, while this one is a little bit more on the orangey side. So anyway, just wanted to show you that one quick. Okay, so next up, I know I mentioned this looked a lot like Naked Heat to me. I don't have the Naked Heat palette anymore because I gave it away, but I do have Tartelette Toasted, and I think Naked Heat and Tartelette Toasted were very, very similar. So just looking at these two side by side, this doesn't have the yellows, but other than that, I think these two might be really, really close dupes. So let's go ahead and swatch them and find out. All right, so here we are. I think the LA Girl palette looks pretty much just like an affordable version of the Tartelette Toasted plus some yellows, because these shades are so incredibly close to each other. I mean, most of the palette, I think there's a few differences again down this end, but like from the beginning when I first started swatching, I was like shade after shade was exactly the same almost. So wow, I think this is really almost spot on. And if you never purchased the Tartelette Toasted, I think this is a really good alternative. All right, guys, so those are the new LA Girl Break Free palettes. I would love to hear your thoughts. Which one is your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you'd like to see me do looks with these, also let me know that as well. And I definitely can do that over on my main channel. And also, I'd love to hear if you can think of any other palettes that these might be duping. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And also, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well so you won't miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care. Bye.